Hi there, I'm Evan.
And I'm Mark.
We talk about a lot of stuff today.
On this week's podcast, we talk about ADHD.
We started talking about Mark, and then he kind of bailed. This has been 2 weeks of Mark bailing on topics. So I come in, rescue it with something to actually talk about. But next week, are we going to bail again, Mark? Next week's better bring the real meat.
This was a great podcast episode. I had fun helping
good.
Evan brainstorm and
we dive into my business, but I'm tired of Mark passing the buck.
Welcome to the Something to Prove podcast. Did I steal your thunder?
No, I don't even remember how we start. So
we don't really start with any of this because we do the, hey, I'm Evan, hey, I'm Mark. And then we.
All right. Okay, good. So
we just go into talking.
Mm-hmm.
We go into talking. What are you eating there?
Salt.
Oh, just some salt. I have my Himalayan sea salt over there.
That's what this is. Himalayan sea salt. When there's pressure in the atmosphere, I get a headache.
Oh.
And so
because you live on like the 20th floor type thing or no?
No, just in general. Like when there's a lot of pressure, when there's dark clouds, it's getting better. It's been a weird day. It's been like crazy dark and then bright, but
super sunny, and yeah, it's strange.
But when it's dark clouds, when there's a lot of pressure in the atmosphere, my mom gets it too. We just get headaches.
I've been thinking about you all day.
Oh wow!
Because
you're gonna make my headache better or worse on this podcast.
Oh, I don't know, but I've been thinking about it all day for the strangest reason.
Oh, good. So what's the reason? Does it involve dragons?
Dragons?
See, it just got stranger. Good.
No. So this is going to be a callback you may not even remember. I went to the gym this morning. I've not had time to change or shower yet. And I smell terrible. Like I keep getting a whiff of myself every once in a while.
Like right now you stink?
Yeah. Like
it kind of looks like you stink, to be honest. I look at you, it's you look smelly. Okay, keep going.
I look smelly. Can you see the green things coming up? Anyway, but like I'll be working on like reaching for something, and I'll be like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And then it reminds me of on the podcast, like 2 or 3 months ago, maybe you were like, I stink today, and you just went on and on about how bad you smelled because you were so into.
Oh, I was at TDS. It was at TDS. No,
that was here.
Oh, that's something else. Okay,
that was there. Yeah. Anyway,
I don't remember then.
Made me think of you. Made me laugh. Anyway,
I
welcome.
Do get pretty smelly on Thursdays
because of the energy, right?
Yeah. It's just crazy energy. I'm doing a workout. I'm doing a mental workout, which ties up a lot of energy. Yeah.
There you go. Welcome to season 4, where we talk about the build. I just wanted to follow up real quick on last week. You hijacked our podcast last week. Joshua wanted to know, hey, did we ever come up with a name? Did we ever come up with a name for your system?
No.
Did you just go with Believe 18 or what? Believe
no, it's 21? Still FlexiX for now.
Still FlexiX.
Yeah. I launched this FlexiX. I just did it. We needed something. I started.
Well, there you go. So
I'm on day 5 right now. I'm on day 5.
So after all that conversation, and then all the people you talked to, and then all the instant messaging we did that night or the next day, when we started the podcast, I said, why don't you just stick with FlexiX? And you gave me all these reasons. No, in the end, you ended up sticking with it anyway.
For now. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mark, creativity is messy. What do you want?
I want somebody to come in
and tell me what the thing is. And nobody can do that. So it's messy and we keep going.
Okay. Well, I was curious because I haven't asked you all week what we landed on.
Okay.
What do you want
that long awkward pause was Mark drinking.
Taking a sip
at a very
of tea.
Inopportune time.
Chamomile tea.
Okay, what are we doing, Mark? Let's go.
What do you want to talk about today? Because I'm not sure how deep we should dig into the build, the rebuild, what's going on, and all that stuff. What do you think? What do you think's appropriate for us to speak about today?
Whatever you want, Mark. I just show up. I'm here. You're our topic master.
I'm our topic master. I don't know if I'm ready to get into everything because I haven't figured it all out yet.
Oh, Jesus, is that why we don't get into it? Because you haven't figured it out yet? What's the build about? When you figured it out?
Well, no, the build's for Fanta. The build is for Fanta and all of that stuff. I'm talking about all the other stuff we've been talking about.
Yeah, but that is Fanta. That becomes Fanta. Mark Drager equals Fanta.
Let's talk about the We Do Hard Things podcast on the Something to Prove podcast. We launched it today.
Oh, it happened finally.
Hey, Yeah,
Okay,
we've been working for a week and a half on getting things done and finalized and branding and on iTunes.
A week and a half, like 4.5 months. How long has it been?
All I was doing was interviewing for a bunch of months, but we only started packaging them 2 weeks ago.
Too long. Keep going. Okay.
Anyway, I wanted to let you know, we do hard things. Anyone who's listening to this, check out the We Do Hard Things podcast. We've interviewed some Evans Bo. I know we've talked about this. He's gotten some crazy good guests. And I was looking at the release list because we've now done 11 or 12 interviews. And if we release one interview every week, I realized that some of these interviews that I want to send out now, because I'm so excited about them, aren't going to go out to like December or January.
Yeah, they should have been out already. It's not even going to be.
I might do two per week, just to shorten up some, and then go back to once per week. But I know that you've been telling people on Instagram that you won't be on their podcast until I launch my podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
Because those people have been reaching out to me to bug me and say, "Hey, Mark,
I love it.
Heard about the podcast. What can I do to help get this launched?"
Great. I love it. Yes. In my moments of frustration, because I'm thinking about my friend Mark.
You never look frustrated.
Oh, yeah. What do you mean? I'm always frustrated with you. In my moments of frustration, I'm thinking about Mark and his podcast. As we're trying to get, I'm doing things to get your show booked, that, guests doing trades and all sorts of stuff. It's like, when is this thing even coming out?
Yeah, I know. I talked to Josh York. I interviewed Josh York from Gym Guys last week. And he's like, "Oh, you know Evan?" I was like, "Oh, you know Evan?" He's like, "Yeah, I just had him on my podcast." I was like, that's right. Okay. Evan doing the wheeling and dealing. I appreciate it.
Wheeling, dealing. So people DM me to say, "I've got a new podcast I want to be on." I'm slammed. Like, there is no, I don't know. Everybody's doing podcasts right now, interviews and podcasts, and just my schedule is bonkers ridiculous. And so I look at all the next like month of just nothing. Even my emergency times are getting filled up with people.
With podcasts?
Yeah, and interviews, and anyway. So people DM me, and in my moments of frustration, I say, "Yes, I'll come on your show as soon as Mark Drager launches his show at Mark Drager or Mark.Drager, whatever it is."
Mark.Drager, yeah.
Mark.Drager, and I make it public, so it's a story, so everybody can see it.
Yep.
So I want people to message Mark to say, "Mark, where's the podcast coming up?" So it's good. I'm glad. Listen, anything I can do to make my friends actually finally take action.
And so let's talk about this. If
it's guilting them, if it's pressuring them, if it's loving them, if it's bribing them, if it's yelling at them, if it's hugging them.
Why do you care, man? Like, this is the thing that
because you care.
But why don't you? I've mentioned it a whole bunch of times. Like, I don't understand how you haven't run out of patience, how you're understanding, how you're compassionate, how you're thoughtful, or all of these things. And I don't want to just, spend the whole podcast talking about how you're an awesome friend. I don't understand, like, why you're not just like writing me off at this point, honestly.
Well, there's still time.
Oh, good. I'll remember that.
Keep that in the back of your head. Perfect. Let's go.
There's still time. Anyway, so we launched the We Do Hard Things podcast. I'm really excited, actually, about getting it out. The guests are awesome. The interviews are awesome. I love the packaging. I love the branding. I love what we're doing. I've changed up how I'm interviewing people to try and get better at it. So, yeah, it's great. It's great. There's that cross promotion. Something to do, podcast listeners. Go check out the We Do Hard Things podcast.
Who's episode 1? Why wasn't I episode 1? Jesus. Okay, who's episode 1 anyway?
Why weren't you? I haven't even interviewed you yet.
I know.
Because what would I interview you about? I already know everything about you. And you don't like me asking you questions for the audience. I thought about putting you on the podcast, and I thought,
wait, so
what
who's
would we do
1?
differently?
Who's episode 1?
Sonia Wick. So
who's that?
Sonia Wick is a mother who 15 years ago couldn't ride a bike, didn't know how to swim as an adult, who went on to be a marathon person, who went on to be an Ironman person, who ran 18 Ironmans, who came second in her age group at Kona, and then went on Eco Challenge on Amazon and ran the world's toughest race. She's episode 1.
Oh, great. Oh, is she the guy? Is she the woman who's partnered with the guy?
with Iron Cowboy with
Yeah.
James Lawrence. Yeah, they were on the same team.
Okay, what question am I supposed to? So he was supposed to be on my.
I've interviewed James Lawrence as well.
That was a fun trade. Okay, so he was supposed to be on, but he got the wrong time or something.
Okay, yeah, because he's in Utah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I don't know when we're rescheduling, but it's happening soon. So what's the question that I should ask him that you didn't?
James Lawrence. Oh, the question you should ask him that I didn't. We had a really good 1 hour conversation. He's been on impact theory. He has a great book that's out as well. What should you ask him that I didn't? I don't know, man. I don't know. He talks about on impact theory. He talks a lot about pushing through pain and working through pain.
I'll figure stuff out. Just you leaving. What I was hoping for was you left the conversation. You thought about what you guys talked about, and then like, ooh, I should have asked this question.
I think you guys will have a very different conversation because most of the things I threw at him, he's just like, yeah, my brain doesn't work that way.
Oh, great.
Yeah, yeah, I don't have that fear. That worry? No, I don't have that worry. What are you talking about? Just do it.
All right.
So I think you guys are going to click quite well.
Great. We'll see. We'll find. Well, it's easy to find stuff. Just all right, cool. That's happening.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
Okay, great. So I'll throw something at you then. So Steve, my agent, wants me to come up with an action. So a default action like what they did with Grant and Mel, who've got the 5-second rule.
The 5-second rule. Yeah.
So it's an action.
Mm-hmm.
So believe isn't as much an action. So basically an action under believe. What do I tell people to do all the time that becomes my
and it's
10x?
FlexiX?
Well, no, not Flex. Well, so I told him FlexiX. That's actually what started the whole FlexiX conversation. Was what's my action going to be? What could I tell people to do consistently in almost like in any Q&A, Grant could say 10x.
Record. You have it. Record. You already have the answer, man. You say that all the time. You feel it, record. You do your whole thing is
no. That's too specific to people who want to make content. No, that's too specific. Like Grant could say 10x to anything. Any problem, 10x. He just 10x it, right? So it's something like that. So I told him FlexiX, and that's a pretty good. Like I could say FlexiX to almost anything, like whatever the advice is. Okay, now let's set it in your calendar. Make 18-day. He doesn't like the 18-day, like too long,
too much work, too detailed. He wants something you can do in like a minute.
Yeah. So we're still playing with it, but we're looking for other ideas. So what else?
2% rule.
Well, what do you do? Like, I guess it's taking action on the 2%. I could tell him that. I could write that one down.
Yeah, like we can figure out a better way to package it if you want to or whatever. But it's basically
the 2% difference.
It's basically the minimum viable step. It's like, hey, I have this idea, I have this moment. What is the minimum thing that I can do right now without any kind of roadblock to start momentum? And I think, we just mentioned that I was speaking to Steven Scoggins on my other podcast, and I was going through his
you're
growth.
Just pimping out the podcast. Like, can we focus on this podcast, the much better podcast than the other? Okay.
Well, actually, that reminds me of Errol Dobler, a Navy SEAL and ex-FBI agent that I was speking to, who's also a leadership guru. Should I just keep going with name dropping? Or no? I only have 11 names to go through. So
2% difference could work. I told them about modeling success. So like modeling is another easy one. Okay, well, who's done it? Go model them. Like
Robbins talks about success leaves clues, right? So
model
like, you want to be a millionaire, go talk to a bunch of millionaires, modeling the masters. That's good.
The one what did I give him last night that I got excited to buy? Let me find it.
Modeling the masters is your truest. I mean, dude, that's like that was like your 21-year-old breakthrough, right?
Yeah.
That's like a deep cut. Like that's roots in your life. I feel like if there was something that was core to you, that would be it.
The other two I gave him yesterday, so I can add 2% difference to the list. The scary, difficult, hard.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an action.
Damn the Doritos.
What?
Damn the Doritos.
Oh, damn the Doritos.
right? Everybody else is telling you, you know, get through it, get through it, get through it. I say, just like, show yourself how strong you are. Breathe it in.
Damn the Doritos.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's an action or not, but it's basically like putting right into your face the very thing that you don't want.
Yeah, I like it. So I told him scary, difficult, hard, and then the boom, boom, boom test,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically the same thing. Just one is in your body and one is in your head or in your language.
Yeah, you used to use this language, or at the very least, I thought you did, and I kept saying it over and over again.
Which one?
If you can't, you must. I don't know where that came from. Maybe that is from Tony Robbins or something, but it's the idea that if you tell yourself you can't, then you must do it. And that was kind of the boom, boom, boom test, right? Oh, I'm telling myself I can't. Well, now I have to do it, right? That also, if it's not someone else's, if you can't, you must is like just a really great package.
No,
Every time you tell yourself you can't, you must do it.
Yeah, that's not. So the opposite came from my mom. My mom said, if you can, therefore you must.
I didn't know that. I've always taken, I think when you were in Pittsburgh for your first tour, and when I saw you again in Cleveland, I think during that tour, when you talked about the boom, 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 I think you talked about, you know, being on the corner, you know, walking to TDS, you got music on, you're dancing, you get to a busy street corner and now you stop dancing.
Yeah.
The idea of you told yourself, oh, I can't do this. Oh, damn, now I have to do it. Like it's that you told that story that way. And it was that like, oh, I can't do this. Oh man, now I have to do it. That I just shortened it down to, you know, if you can't, you must.
All right.
I think that's powerful.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if every time that you had something pop into your head and then your immediate reaction is, I can't do that. The next trigger is like, well, now I have to do it. You know, there's no choice. I have to. I think that's just as powerful as 5-second rule and more powerful than just shouting 10x at everything.
Well, that's scary, difficult, hard, just different language.
Okay.
Right? Oh, that's too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like my language better, but that's okay.
If you can't, you must. You have moments. You got really good moments. You have other moments, but you got great moments.
Well, I think that there's, I think we've identified within me that something that the inconsistency, it might be a challenge that I'm overcoming and working towards overcoming.
You're building something better. We should talk about that.
What do you want to talk about?
You made the segue. I didn't. I'm just along for the ride.
Yes, I'm building something better. A brand new Mark Drager will come out of this. Yeah, I think that's good, man. Getting back to your thing.
All right. There's some ideas in there.
But honestly, I think that if you took the essence of record, right? I know that you telling me, you telling Alex, you telling anyone, you feel it, record. You think it, record. I think that you just change the language to share or some kind of thing, and it's still there. People have a thought, a dream, they're bold, they have something, they have an emotion, and they're so hesitant to share that, to explain that, to give that to other people for fear of ridicule and everything else. And if you want to be a leader, you feel it, share, you think it, share, you like, do you know what I mean? Like the essence is still there. Even
that's 2% difference, right? That's just,
I think that's a universal thing. Don't you?
That's 2% difference. We can call it something else.
What's that? Sorry, my microphone messed up.
That's 2% difference.
The 2% difference. So take the minimum viable step that you can do right now to start.
Yeah, press record is specific to thought leadership, but that's the 2% difference. All of these could be like 2% difference could be everything. Could be everything. Model success could be an answer to everything. Scary, difficult, hard could be an answer to everything.
If you can't, you must. Yeah, I got it. I think that's the official title now.
What's your next podcast? Stay tuned.
I can just wow, I'm just going to conceive of podcasts, run them for 12 episodes and put them to bed.
That's maybe an even better title than We Do Hard Things.
You can't,
if you can't, you must.
If you can't, you must. It's kind of long, hard to say.
But it's great for me.
It's perfect for you, Evan.
Kind of long, hard to say. I hate it, but it's good for somebody else. Perfect. Great. Thanks, Mark.
If you can't, you must. Welcome to the If You Can't, You Must. Yeah, it's too wordy for that. But 2% difference is good. It's just not intuitive enough. 5-second rule. What is that? Give yourself 5 seconds and then do it, which is basically the same thing as like, if you can't, you must, I guess. I don't know. Different trigger, but
okay, great.
What about the 2% rule?
Or the 2% difference, 2% rule. 2% yeah, I mean, I could pass it by Steve, and I'll give him these ones too. See what he wants to.
Where I was going when I was name dropping Stephen Scoggins was that he has a framework called Grow, where he basically, like you, like me, like a lot of us, we have these. I think big people would say yes. Like we have these frameworks where we try to like series of questions and whatnot. And they're all great. They're all great, but they're only good if you actually do them and implement them and stay with them. And action is the problem, right? There is no shortage of, like I think a lot of us go like, oh, people aren't reflecting enough or ruminating enough or self-aware enough or thinking enough or any of these things. And it's like, none of that's the problem. Like it's not a lack of research, not a lack of anything. It's a lack of just taking action and then being consistent with that action for the long term. And so, like I'm aware of that. I know that's my problem. I know that's a lot of our problem. When you talk about the haters and the wannabes or the complainers and the wannabes and the,
you like that,
whatever they are, every step you're analyzing the amount of action that they take, right? And how consistently they take that action and what kind of action it is. So if you were to hang your hat on anything, I would suggest that getting more people to take action in some way is the thing to try and fix and crack. No?
Well, that's why he's asking for an action. All of these are different actions.
Right. So what I'm saying though is, what is the thing that will get people to move from thinking about something to doing something? The 2% rule, I think, is stronger than even FlexiX. FlexiX is, I've already decided to do something. Now, will I stick with it? The 2% rule is about starting. If I can't, I must is about starting. Like if we think about this, some of them are intuitive things we can train ourselves. Damn the Doritos is an intuitive thing you can train yourself to do, not to shun things away, but just to embrace it and prove to yourself that you're strong enough.
No. I think all of them are specific action. Like damn the Doritos is go buy right now the thing that is going to drive you. Like go buy the Peak Freen cookies and put them on your desk. That's a specific action, not just a concept. FlexiX is still about starting. It's giving people a framework to start, to do. Like start the 18-day challenge. Pick a habit. Start today. Get that first X. It's of all of them, it's the most one with follow through because it gives people a mini roadmap for what to do tomorrow and the next day.
Yep.
Everything else is just in the moment, which could be more powerful, right? Like FlexiX isn't as powerful in the moment, but it's still about starting.
Yeah, I see FlexiX like a planner or like journaling. It's like an activity that you have to decide you want to do, and then you think about it, and then you do it, and then you make yourself proud, and you train yourself over time that you're capable of these things. Whereas if I can't, I must, or 2% difference, these are all like intuitive things where if you can catch yourself in the moment and
it just has two sides. I mean, like journaling could be the best in the moment thing you could do.
If you can get people to start journaling though.
No, but that's it. Like go right now and pull out your calendar right now and let's put in where you're going to actually spend time editing and packaging your podcast so it doesn't take 18 months to come out. Like put in your calendar. It's one of the most...
Putting in my calendar is not enough. I've learned, right? I put it in my calendar and then something else comes along and I look at my calendar and I go, oh, I never even got around to that. Or I didn't do that stuff. The thing that's most helpful to me the last week has been literally every day going back to checklists, like just setting what I want to accomplish with attention. And
that's still the same thing, right? It's an ongoing habit, but the important part is to start it. So what could I do with somebody? Great. Let's make your checklist for today. What has to happen before today is over? And then what are you going to do tomorrow? And then you can build out the first week of checklists and you give them a habit that they can use. but it's not only a planner that's for later or just a mindset that eventually you try to get it. All of these are actions that you can do right now.
So as you explain this, between 2% difference between FlexiX or Boom 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 or whatever it is, which one feels the most universal that'll make the biggest impact? FlexiX?
I don't know. For me, I play with, it's to the person. I don't know. What do I say the most? I don't know.
What's the thing that you would be proud to be known for? It's Evan's thing.
I'm proud of all of them. I don't know. I think modeling success is the most historic one that I've been attached to, and I still love doing. But I like all of them. Otherwise, I wouldn't do them.
Yeah, you do go to. I guess you're right. You do pull out all of them depending on what the person needs. I have heard you, when speaking to other people, go to modeling others as kind of the go-to thing.
Modeling success is the best one when I don't know what to tell the person.
But it's also the one that leads to belief the most, right? I can't. Well, someone else has done it. Go find that person who's done it with your circumstances, and go learn what they did, right? Like it is pretty universal, right?
So belief for me will break down to being around people who've done it, and also showing yourself that you like taking action leads to belief as well. Both. They're both sides. Doing the 2% difference leads to belief that you can keep it going, that you did something, that you started. Mm-hmm. So it's always both. Like if I get a generic question like, hey, Evan, how do I start in the beauty industry? I'm going to model success. I don't know anything about the beauty industry.
Usually you say, go find a job working for a smaller company where you can learn their business from the inside.
Yeah, if I don't have an answer, modern success is the default. If I have an answer, usually whether I'm going damn to Doritos or 2%, those are all similar things. Damn to Doritos, 2% difference, FlexiX, scary, difficult, hard, boom, boom, boom test. Depends on what comes up with the conversation. But I have a specific piece of advice that I want to give them. Generically, modeling success works, or model the masters work, or whatever we want to call it. Yeah, I don't know. We got some.
Circle of belief is out. That's not a thing anymore.
It's not an action, though. He wants an action.
An action.
I still like the circle of belief. It was actually the circle of potential, but
I know I changed it.
You called it circle of belief.
Because everything has to support believing more. I mean, that's your thing, right?
That is definitely the thing. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah. Anyway, that's what I'm playing with. I like it. I don't know what he wants exactly to do with it. His big ideas of how he wants to package it or rebrand me or whatever. I told him about the website change. People love the new website. Holy cow. Like
with the image of your past you versus your future you.
And the story, it's like, you're so vulnerable and so authentic and so humble. And so it's like, okay, yeah. I mean, I am just, I never.
Okay. Yeah. I never thought of it that way.
I have no problem sharing like any of that stuff. So I don't know if there's something inside there of being an introvert and all that. Steve doesn't like it as much, but that's what resonates the most with when people go to the website. I feel it most when I'm doing interviews, right? So days like today, where before they interview me, they go to my website and they see the story, and then they instantly connect with one piece of it somewhere, and then they make sure to bring it up on the show. So that angle is working. You know, the whole working towards the complainers, the not being the jumping up on stage, rah rah, look like a cult kind of deal. That side's working, so I'm pumped for that. But I don't know where else we'll see. We'll see where Steve wants to take it. We're playing his game.
Okay, so what would be the most easily consumed from the complainers then? You know, if this is working, if the old you is dead and the new you is born, and you have your story and you're vulnerable and it's appealing to the complainers, and at the same time everything's blowing up everywhere in your business, and just your presence is even blowing up, but more and more and more.
So
what's out of these tools would be the most easily understood to a cynical complainer who thinks that all of this stuff is BS?
So Steve, with this exercise, actually wants to pull me in the other direction. He wants me to target people who are much
Achievers.
further along.
Mm-hmm.
It still connects with them. It targets them, but connects to the earlier people as something aspirational. That's the exercise. Whether it ends up being the thing or not, that was the task.
So he wants something so that way he can put you on a stage. You know, you're fourth out of 8 speakers, and you have your own unique thing to talk about in a room full of achievers or people who want to be high achievers, basically.
And that other people will see as aspirational. So it's not hitting the complainers, because complainers aren't aspirational. They want to tear things down.
Exactly. Isn't then most of the things that you talk about just too simple anyway? Or they like the simplicity of 5-second rule or what have you?
I mean, I think it all applies, because you still have, no matter how much success you have, you still have insecurities and fears and worries and restraints on what belief in the next thing that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So you can always find the 2% difference for the next thing that you want to do, or model success for the next thing that you want to do.
I agree. Model success. I mean, you can develop like a three question or a 4-question framework or whatever. So that way it's just like, and here's how you model success. You do 1, 2, 3, 4. It works every single time. Or the 2% difference for achievers, I would say, is actually huge, right? FlexiX seems more to me to kind of like people starting out, but I don't know. Maybe I'm not thinking of it advanced enough. I don't know.
Well, but the thing is, everybody's starting out on something.
Right. But people who are achievers or high achievers, don't you find that they feel like they've got this figured out? So even if they're starting something, they're not maybe as open. Do you think they're open or less? Do you think they're more open or less open to these kinds of framework structures and tools? More open because they're in this world and they accept them. Less open because they feel like they already know all of this stuff. Like they heard someone last week talk about it. Like they don't actually have to do all of the steps. Don't you find?
No, you just have to have the credibility. Like Tony gives the same tools to everybody who shows up at his event.
Yeah.
But then when he's working with somebody, he goes to the exact same tool. And then the person who was just blanking out at the seminar or just, oh yeah, I've seen this before, now is paying attention, is like, oh my gosh, that's the answer. It's like, it's the same thing. You just zoned out before, or you read it somewhere else.
You didn't remember it. You didn't pay attention to it. That's so funny.
Now
you were on this week with Tony Robbins' event. You were in a live event or something. I took your screenshot you sent me and shared it with some people. It's like, look at this guy.
I know this guy. Yeah, that was fun. Yesterday we did our Puerto Rico meetup online.
Your mastermind thing through your iPhones or whatever you have to do.
Yeah. Well, we did it through Zoom, but I have to be in the iPhone group. And pretty much everybody showed up, right? Tom and Brendan and Dean and Russell and bunch of people. And a lot of the stuff that even Brendan teaches is great. And if you just read it in a book, you'd be like, okay, I know this stuff. But then when he's telling you have to do this, and he's absolutely certain that this is the answer, he's like, ooh, okay, let me do this. So I think it depends on the source. Delivery, but also the credibility of the person to be willing to listen. A lot of people will take the same things Tony Robbins says because they're not Tony Robbins. The high achievers don't want to listen to them. Mm-hmm. So high achievers still have a problem with staying consistent on new habits that they're trying to build.
If you can build a framework around modeling masters, modeling success leave clues, whatever you want to call it, I feel like it's true to where you started. It's got a really great personal story. It's proven to you to work in market. It's worked with tons and tons of other people. The problem is that we all judge ourselves here against people who have done it for a really long time, right? And the secret to you modeling the math, what's that?
It's proven to work in market.
Sorry, yeah, it's proven to work in market. Sorry, my
such
corporate,
a marketer, this guy.
My corporate, CEO
so corporate. Who talks like this?
It's proven to work in market. Sorry,
in market.
You can make fun of me. That's how I talk. No, but the unlock wasn't, in terms of your story, your unlock, I'm telling you now, but for the audience, wasn't saying like, hey, I have a software company. What does Bill Gates do, at $100 million or $10 million or whatever to run a company? No, the answer is like, hey, I run a software company that has $200,000 revenue. What did Bill Gates do in the first year to get to 10 million, right? Like that is the magic of that thing, that is the magic of we go, yeah, okay, Evan, I'll check out what Evan's doing. And I go to YouTube and I go, 2 million followers, 2 million subscribers and 7,000 videos. And he's releasing it. And I go like, I couldn't possibly do that because we're modeling the wrong versions of the masters. And so I think if you can teach achievers, high achievers, a structure or a framework to do this, tied with your personal story, tied with the fact that it works, tied with some way to help quantify which version of the master we're modeling, I think that's really cool.
All right.
You don't think that could be your thing? You're not feeling it?
I mean, it is the thing. I don't talk a lot about it because we can't
abstract.
We can't get as far. It's an action, but I can't help them through it. Like, great. Somebody wants to be a makeup artist. Okay, go model success. I guess we could say like, go research. It takes a little bit more time. Go find the stories of whoever.
No, but so I'm working through some things that we'll talk about on the podcast one day, but I'm working through some things. And your advice to me was like, hey, go find someone. I honestly have been trying to do research. I just don't know. I don't know how to keyword entrepreneur, this and this to find that person where like, oh, there's this Australian dude named Jake who I don't know how to find that person to model. And so I'm kind of stuck in this place of like, I think there's a path, but I haven't seen it. And some days I believe there is, and some days I'm not sure that there is. And so if I could just know that, again, the Australian named Jake had this and this and this in very similar situations, which is why your videos are so successful. Like people want to hear from people that they feel like they identify with, connect with, but are a little bit further ahead.
So when Alex recently discovered that he had pretty severe ADHD, and I was telling him for, I don't know, at least a couple weeks, you have a learning disability. And he didn't want to listen for the first, at least the first week for sure. He's like, no, I'm not. Like denial, straight up denial. It's like, okay, like this is what it is. This is it. It's happening. You could choose to listen now. You can listen in a month, but this is it. And then he finally did the research and all this stuff and found out, I didn't know what it was, but like you don't learn the same way other people do. You have a learning disability. But I also see it as it's a huge unlock. Like if you can't, it's not like you need to be on drugs. If you can't figure it out, like if you can't heal it, then use it to your advantage. So Alex has ADHD and he's talked about it. So I'm not sharing anything that he's not comfortable, kind of being on the public record. So then he started going down ADHD researching. He's like, oh yeah. But a lot of that reinforces why you suck, which is the problem.
Yes, I have.
A lot is like, oh, I have ADHD, so I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't do this and here I suck and like, oh, I need to get on whatever drug. Oh, and I can't budget and it's like it's all. Once you get the diagnosis, then all you see is all the negativity around what this thing is. So that learning is still helpful because you can, Alex can design a better life for himself. So like everything, he gets so distracted that he needs to actually bucket his time Because if you give him 4 hours empty, it's just going to be wasted. He's going to look at squirrels all day. He's just going to dive down some weird rabbit hole. So he knows he needs a calendar. He thrives on their structure. And that's common for ADHD stuff. But researching to at least know what you've got is super helpful. The next step, though, is, okay, and this is the harder part, who actually sees this as a superpower? So that it's not a negative. Most people who will talk about something like ADHD will say, well, here's why it sucks. Great. Who sees that as actually strength? And that's where it gets harder to find. But I gave Alex a piece from Tom Bilyeu, which I just happened to be listening to, where he said, I find it's so easy for me to get into depression. It's so easy for me to get into anxiety. So easy for me to get into the negative states. But it's also easy for me to slip out of it. I don't remember. I could just slip out of it super quick. It's like, this is an unlock for Alex. That it's easy for him to slip into negative moods or distraction, something else. But it's also easier for him than other people to slip into positive moods. Mm. He'll forget that somebody ripped him off yesterday. He doesn't weigh on things. He forgets about that.
That is a superpower, right?
That's a superpower.
To be like squirrel, if you can intercept that, yeah, you can see it as a distraction. Like, I can't get anything done. Or as you're saying, if you can unlock it to like, hey, when you're negative, when you're pissed off, when you're down on yourself, to be able to say squirrel and get suddenly excited about life. That's awesome.
And get out of it. Like, you can hack yourself.
Yeah.
So I told him every hour you have to put on a song that you like and go nuts. Dance, go crazy for 20 seconds.
That sounds like how do you say tomato in Italian? Pomodoro, is that it? Pomodoro. There's a technique called the Pomodoro technique.
That's 25 minutes of focused work.
And then 5 minutes of break, and then 25, and then 5. Yeah,
but don't spend 5 minutes. Every hour, set an alarm.
20 seconds.
Put on a song, 15, 20 seconds of just going nuts. Put on a song and dance and go crazy, and you'll feel happier. And for him, that just shifts him out of the state that he was in. Like, what was I feeling before? I don't know. Okay, great. I feel great. Let's go work. Like, for other people who sit and wallow and just are heavy and got this thing on them, it takes so much emotional effort to get them out of the place that they're in.
Are you suggesting that those of us on this podcast, maybe me, might have to face that?
For you, it's definitely harder to get out of a state than like that hack that won't work as well for you. But it works super well. So that was something I just found in listening to Tom and just trying to connect the dots. But what Alex should be doing now is looking at, now that he understands what ADHD is, what the symptoms are, what some of the tools are, most of the resources and tools are about helping you live a normal or maybe slightly less than normal life. It's like, you suck. You've got this thing. It sucks. You suck. But life doesn't have to be total garbage. You can be a little bit higher doing this. Okay, great. At least you have the self-awareness and some of the tools. But then how can you see this as a superpower? And that's where there's not enough content. There's not enough research. But there are some people who are doing it.
If you could figure out a 2-step, a 4-step, a 6-step process to being able to do this, that, in my opinion, is way more valuable than FlexiX, 2% difference, or anything else.
Yeah,
it's the reason it's the advice that you give when you don't know what advice to give is because it's your core truth. I mean, it's the thing that you did. It's the thing that works, right?
It's pattern recognition and lateral thinking. That's hard.
Well, so I'm asking, like, is there a way that you can challenge yourself to figure out a process to this that can be packaged? Even if it's only, Tim Ferriss style, right? 70% effective is still a great amount of effectiveness, right? Like, hey, I'm going to do this. It's only 70%, but it's not worth the extra time or effort to hit that extra 30%. Is there some kind of structure that will help get people there pretty much most of the time?
Well, looking at how anybody got started. Look at who's done your thing. And I've talked about it for decades now. Like who's done the thing? What?
Almost 20 years.
Over 20 years.
No, almost 20 years. How old were you when you figured it out? 19?
No, that's true.
20?
No, 22,
22.
22. I'm 40 now. So yeah, 18 years.
Yeah.
22. Yeah. Okay. So 18 years.
You're 40 now. Oh my God.
You look at who's done it, and then you look at how they got started. I tell people, like, find 2 people who've done it and look at how they got started, not how they're doing it right now. And then also find somebody who hasn't done it, but who you look up to and respect, and see how they got started too, because there's lessons in their success. So if you want to be a software entrepreneur, great. Go study Bill Gates, how he got started, first million, go study whoever else. And then if you love Oprah, learn from her too, how she got started, because there's lessons in there that will still help you. That creates pattern recognition, some lateral thinking. Those are easier when there's a clear target. Like, I want to start a software company. So okay. Who's done software companies?
Step 1 of this process is defining your clear targets.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So define the clear target. Do the research on the 2 people who fit and the 1 person who excites the hell out of you.
Yeah.
And then what are you looking for?
How they got started. Look at how did they handle the problem when they were your size?
But for what? Like, look at their mindset, look at their goal, look at the resources they had, look at like what?
Their actions. What did they do? How did they solve the problem when they were your size?
So what they did, not necessarily what they thought?
How do you find out what they thought? Like, what did Bill Gates think when he was 20 years old? I mean, who knows? You're going to...
I don't know. I'm asking you what the most helpful version
I like
of this
it.
is.
It's just that's the research becomes insanely difficult and also requires a lot of problem solving
which is why I'm struggling to find people to model sometimes. I'm asking questions the way that I would think of it. Like, well, it's not enough to figure out the action. I got to think about what they think and who is this, and like.
Well, you could. I mean, you can go back and watch. That becomes then lateral thinking and pattern recognition to be able to read between the lines. To watch a Bill Gates interview, there's nobody who went and did, like, you could go research pretty easily. How did Microsoft get to be a $5 million company? And you can see lots of stories about what happened. There will be very few stories about what was Bill Gates's mindset as a 18-year-old entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Now, you might find a video of him young telling his story, and most of the questions are boring. So you got to read between the lines to try to peek into his mindset. Most people suck at mindset, period. So counting on some reporter 50 years
question
ago
in 1983
to ask a great question
about mindset when no one was thinking about mindset in 1983.
Brutal. Yeah. So it's possible, just that's some crazy level of research plus the ability to put the pieces together where it hasn't been put together for you. The other stuff has been more nicely packaged. Anybody's success story, the bigger they are, the more books there are about them, the more, I mean, A.P. Giannini on the wall, right? Mm-hmm. Books about him that I can go read and understand. But his actual mindset, I don't know. It's speculation based off of the different stories that have come out. Mm-hmm. So I like it as a step. It's just super hard. Yeah. And a big ask to get people to do.
Okay. So the first step would be defining your target. Like who do you want to model? Or do you even before that, do you need to figure out why you even want to model a master? Like, do you need to define your own goal, your own problem that you're trying to overcome to help focus it? Like, do you even, before you start modeling a master, before you start picking the master, before you start doing any research, do you need to do any of your own work?
Sure, but then you get into built to serve, who, why, how.
Perfect.
Well, but
Step one, buy my book.
Built to serve could be every question could also be, okay, what's your who?
Well, listen, if you take one of these things and package it and take it off to your achievers and high achievers as you're giving conferences and stuff. Your next book is going to have to be this. So you better love it. You better believe in it. It better be central to you because you know,
I believe in, yeah, great. I believe in all of it. I had a guy we released our animation of the Damned Doritos with Mark Drager in it.
The one where I'm wearing lipstick?
Oh, it's so good. It came out last night. One of the comments says, so the whole thing is about Damned Doritos. Mark's going to go look it up.
Did you do it on IG or YouTube?
YouTube. It's a full-length YouTube video.
Wow.
Released as it is, starring Mark Drager. I should send it to Leron too, actually. He's in the video.
Ah! Is this it? How to
that
build
girly
a
laugh
mind
is Mark.
That can crush anything? Is that it?
It has a cartoon Evan on the thumbnail.
It has a picture of you. That laugh that I just did was because I saw you. I saw the cartoon version of you.
Okay, so focus. That strategy is all about Damned Doritos.
Yeah.
Right? Which is not a beginner level strategy, but you might think, oh, well, a high achiever, they already get this. One of the comments on that video is, oh, well, that works for a average guy, but when you've got 6% body fat like me, this just won't work because you'll eat the Doritos. This guy needs Damned Doritos more than anybody. It's like you're stuck, dude. You're stuck. But if you're at 6% body fat, you're already like in the highest of high achievers in that category, and yet his mindset is completely wrong, right?
I love the fact that you have sweet chili heat Doritos and a little bit of drool comes out of your mouth.
Somebody in the comments said the drool is nasty.
It is super gross. It is super gross.
Anyway, all of these still apply to the highest achievers. Like that guy is a super high achiever for fitness and still doesn't understand the mindset block. Like, look at the language he's using. He still doesn't get it. He needs it. He needs Damned Doritos more than anybody.
Here I am in the video. Cookies. I got like lipstick on. This is good. It's a bald version.
He's not even paying attention.
I'm not, because it's just so. Every listener, you need to go to YouTube right now and type in "how to build a mind that can crush anything," and go ahead and watch the video of Evan as a cartoon. It's so good.
I like it. That was a fun one to put together.
How long did that take? Like 2 months?
I don't know. Nina managed the project. It did take long because the illustrator took a while to get our branding and colors, and it's still not perfect, but I liked it.
Perfection.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a release compared to some of the other versions that came out. I don't think it's worth it though. I think we're going to stop doing the animations, but it was a good test. We'll see how well it does. The amount of time and effort it takes to make that compared to regular video is just bonkers crazy. So this has to massively outperform. On my side, it's super easy because he's just taking a speech I've already done from one of my videos. Mm-hmm. But the custom animation is a lot. So we'll see.
I understand, having run a company that does custom animation.
Yeah.
How slow and long and expensive these things are. Yes.
So it's like juice worth the squeeze. Probably not.
That could be your thing, Evan.
Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Believe juice.
Believe juice? Wow.
Do you remember Believe sauce? Do you remember back when we started this podcast?
Yeah. Caramel.
Almost 2 years ago, Believe sauce.
Marshmallows. Yeah.
Salted caramel sauce. Yeah.
I was telling somebody earlier today about you and the podcast.
About the We Do Hard Things podcast, which is now on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Google Play.
No, the better one.
Oh, the Something to Prove podcast, which you're listening to right now.
Exactly. And she was talking about why don't people take action? And I asked her, okay, well, when did you get the idea for your show? And she's like, last October, I was driving my daughter to her gymnastics class. And
I see where you're going with this.
and I started crying in the car because I thought I had to do this. I got this idea for this podcast. Like, great. And then my daughter thought I was crazy. So I'm crying in the car. Like, okay, awesome. And so when did you launch the show? April. So I was like, wow. Well, first, congrats for launching the show, because most people won't do that. But what I am absolutely
this is the Evan. Congrats.
Obsessed to it.
That's amazing. But at the same time, why did it take 4 months?
It's like 4 months, October to April.
Oh,
like,
October.
I am obsessed with closing that gap. I'm obsessed with closing that gap. Like episode 1 should have been you in the car, you drop her off, you pull into the parking lot, you pull out your phone, and you make your first episode.
Is that not the 2% difference?
Yeah. So I told them the story about you and the desert and when are we going to record it? Tonight. And what's the topic? I don't know. We'll figure it out. And what's the structure? I don't know. We'll figure it out. And we did. And it's changed and evolved. But that was episode 1 that night in New Mexico when I landed and we had some decent internet to record our first podcast. I'm obsessed with closing that gap. So that's a 2% difference, whatever. That's press record. That's taking action. That's belief. That's the line of belief of you showing yourself that you can do something along the line of belief of the model success and inspiration and learning from people who've done it before.
So then I want to find, I think the thing that's the truest to you and the most central to you and the most core to you that's actually tied to like a really deep personal story will be the thing that is the thing to count on, because it'll have staying power for much longer than like little blips of things. But if you just said you're obsessed with it. So if you're obsessed with it, and if it is the path to belief, why flex the X? Why even what I was talking about modeling the masters, right?
No, Mark. I'm all of that. I'm obsessed with closing that window. All of everything I do, Flex CX closes the window. 2% difference closes the window. Damn the Dreers closes the window. Scary Difficult Heart closes the window. Modeling the Masters closes the window. All of it closes the window. It all closes the window. We can lean in on all of them.
So just pick one thing.
Yeah, well, we'll see what Steve said. This is a Steve exercise. So,
well, there you go.
Closing that window. So I like to use my friend Mark Drager, Mark and Jeremy. It was the same day. That was a great desert drive. That same day led to some great stories that I get to share on other people's shows and podcasts and episodes. Next time I could say my friend Mark Drager, co-host of the Something to Prove podcast. And something else.
Main host of the We Do Hard Things podcast.
If you can't, you must.
If you can't, you must. That's what I told myself when
that was.
Like, hey, we're recording today. We're recording today, and I'm like, oh.
This is what stuck with me. If you can't, you must.
Yeah.
Oh no, I can't use that. It doesn't roll off the tongue very well. No, it's too hard to say.
Here's the thing,
ridiculous.
Evan. Here's the thing,
ridiculous. Evan. That's ridiculous.
If you can't, you must. If you say it, if you articulate or whatever, if you say it carefully, then you'll be good.
All right. That's a wrap. Have fun, everybody. Thanks for listening.
If you want to see last week's episode where Mark passed the buck, go ahead and check it out right here. Remember to believe. We will see you next time.
Perfect. Oops. Hold on. How do I stop recording? There we go. All right.